Yes, I had one and it worked pretty good, so I'm getting some more.
I've only got one, but that's there.
Yeah.
More songs?
If you're able, it's appropriate to stand for the national anthem.
And you can sing along too, really.
You got the mic? Huh?
I don't need a mic.
Okay.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Because that star-spangled banner yet waves o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Okay. Yes. You may, we have a couple other songs Amy would like to do for you, but you can sit down. We had hoped to have a few more people, but we appreciate all that came. They wanted to talk about the vets doing.
What?
Oh, you want to tell
This land
them?
is your land.
Yeah. Okay. You want to tell them you're doing it?
I guess we're doing This Land Is Your Land.
Ready?
Yeah. As I went walking
that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. I rode and rambled and followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her dying desert. All around me a voice was saying, this land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. from California to New York Island, from Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Okay.
Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Carolyn, no, she said she would. Goody.
My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the nations where the gates of wrath are stored. He has loosed the faithful lightning of his terror cautious sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. I have seen him in the watchword of 100 circling camp. They have built it in an altar from the evening to the day. I can read his righteous scepter by the dim and flaring lamp. His day is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. Sounded forth the trumpet that shall never call retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to answer him. Be true, roll up my feet. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. Of the lilies Christ was born to cross the sea, with the glory in his bosom that transfigured you and me. As he died to make men holy, let us die to make men free. God is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. Is that all till we do the Amazing Grace last? Yeah. Do that.
Okay. Amy will do Amazing Grace last, but next we'll have our veterans, which I guess there's Charlie and I, say a few words about whatever they want to say about. Charlie has some things that he wants to say about his experiences in Vietnam, and I wear the label of veteran, but I barely accept it because I was never in any combat or war zone. And I think there's a great difference between ones like me who never left the United States and people like Charlie that were over there in Vietnam and other wars, with their life on the line. So some people volunteered. I didn't even volunteer to go. I went by virtue of the so-called Selective Service Act, which which said that if you're a young and able-bodied man, you will be in the military. So I went kicking and screaming. It wasn't my choice, but but I went and I did. I had a choice of 2 years active duty or 6 years of active reserve, which meant we went once a month to a 2-day training, and we went 2 weeks every summer. We were not real good soldiers. You guys see those trucks going up and down the highway in the summer with their canopies on? Well, I don't know what's in other guys' trucks, but about half of what was in our trucks was beer. Our guys love their beer. So we go to camp one place and we're getting all unloaded, and our CO says, you guys got to take all the canopies off, everything comes off. We're going to go out in the desert and we're going to be in war games. So this is simulated combat where there's no alcohol allowed. So you can't take your beer out in the desert to the war game. So everybody, they're all looking around, what are we going to do with all this beer? They don't know. The SEALs are, well, I don't care what you do with it. You just can't take it out there. And so we had a front end loader. So they decided to bury the beer with the front end loader. And then we're going to come back to this camp, and then they'll take the loader and unload it and dig it back up, and then they can have their beer. But we never came back to that camp. When we were through with the war games, we went straight back to Coos Bay, and all those guys jump out of their army rigs, run home, grab a shovel, and head back to Central Oregon. They're going to dig up that beer with a shovel, get it one way or the other. So that's about my experience in the military. And I know Charlie has a much more serious thing to say, and I admire all the guys that were in combat, and I could have volunteered to go there, but I didn't anyway. So I know that somewhat of talked to other people what it was like. So Charlie, you want to come up and? Oh yeah.
I think.
Caller button. Hello, testing. I think you'll find, after hearing my story, Dennis was a smart one, not me. It was 1967. I left the university where I was a student. No particular reason, but it was the middle of the month, and I decided to hell with it. I've been here too long, too many hours. I was a senior, and Uncle Sam soon grabbed me because I'd had a 4S or whatever it was, deferment, meaning I was a college kid. I went to El Paso, Texas for basic training, and through sheer luck and goodwill, I ended up becoming the brigade trainee, which gave me a little rank. That brigade is about 3,000 guys, and so evidently I kept my nose clean because we couldn't have beer. Then I went to AIT at Fort Gordon, Georgia. AIT, Advanced Infantry Training, Guerrilla Warfare Training at Fort Gordon, Georgia. Then from Fort Gordon, Georgia, I went to jump school and became a paratrooper with a 173rd. And I figured all the time I was going to be sent to OCS. After all, I was a college guy and fairly bright, but they sent me to NCO Academy. And the NCO Academy was only 2 weeks shorter than what the lieutenants were going. And the top 4 people out of that class were promoted to E6. And that's what we used to call lifer rank. A guy would spend a whole lifetime in the Army trying to make E6. That's staff sergeant. And I was one of the 4 that graduated and became an E6. And shortly after that, I went to Vietnam, and I went as a squad leader, which is you're in charge of about 10 guys. And then there's a squad, and then there's 4 squads, becomes a platoon, and then 4 platoons become a company. Well, about a month after I was there, I became the platoon sergeant. And the platoon sergeant works under the platoon leader, and he runs the 4 squads.
And Sergeant Rack was the guy I replaced. He was wounded about a month after I got there. And a little while later, Lieutenant Hill was medevaced out to the rear for a serious wound, and I became an acting platoon leader. This is hard. Anyhow, I was an acting platoon leader, platoon sergeant for the rest of my career in Vietnam. I served with the 173rd Airborne in the Central Highlands, in the jungle. And what I have today is 3 incidences that occurred in my career, and I've titled it, Why Not Me? Because I came home without a Purple Heart. I was never wounded. I had a lot of scratches, a lot of cuts from elephant grass, etc. But this one's titled, Why Not Me? This happened 56 years ago. He was always smiling, laughing, and willing to help out the FNGs, or cherries, to the new platoon. An FNG is an effing new guy, but I'm too polite to say that here, because a new guy comes to the platoon, he knows absolutely nothing about how to survive in Vietnam, and there are almost a danger to the platoon. You kind of keep them at bay until they've been at least one firefight. Anyway, an FNG was considered deadly to any combat platoon because they had not learned to survive in the hellhole most of us call Nam. FNGs, fresh from the world as we call the United States, were accused of still peeing stateside beer when actually before they were assigned to a company. But it wasn't true. Most had been in country for at least a week or 10 days, acclimating to the heat and humidity. Many platoon members ignored them until they had been proven and survived in combat situations. But the guy I'm writing about, he showed them how to pack a 75-pound ruck, where to store the 6 sandbags we all carried, not to put more than 18 rounds in our magazines, how to care for constantly wet feet. Details not too big or small, anything to help a soldier to survive his required year of chasing an enemy who really did not want to be found, and we did not want to find them. I was a platoon sergeant leader and responsible for 15 to 25 guys on any given day. He was my RTO, radio telephone operator. The RTO was in many respects more important than the platoon leader, because with his radio he could contact my squad leaders, the company commander, an emergency helicopter for the wounded, artillery, bombs, jets, gunships, and battalion headquarters. You never wanted to hear from battalion because that always meant something was going to happen. When a previous platoon RTO had fulfilled his 1-year requirement and was on his way back to the world, this guy volunteered for the position. He didn't mind it. This thing keeps flying around. He didn't mind the extra 20 pounds from the radio he had to carry, nor worry about the tall waving antenna, which told any perceptive watcher he and the man he followed should be some of the first should be killed in the event of an ambush, or they were prime targets for a sniper. It was December 22nd, 1968. Somewhere in the Central Highlands of Nam, a cold, wet, and miserable day, with thoughts of Christmas in my head, when I felt the hard handset of the radio telephone tapping me on my shoulder and the words, "Sarge, for you." Left-hand side, because your right side always held your weapon. Automatically turning my head to the left, I felt, more than heard, the sniper's AK round catch my RTO square into his throat. Minutes later, my RTO was dead, killed by a round intended for my head. Why not me? Earlier that year, in September of 1988, my platoon was working some rice paddies out of Tuyua, just off the South China Sea. We were looking for the elusive enemy, but all we were finding were improvised booby traps meant more to maim than to kill. The enemy knew that if he could wound one soldier, it would usually take 3 out of their immediate concern. 1 wounded and 2 to assist until a medevac could fly them off. On this particular day, it was hot, muggy, 110 degrees under the sun, and the mosquitoes were driving us nuts. Our nearness to the sea contributed to the mugginess, and the rice paddy water seemed to be a boon for every mosquito hatched in the last millennium. Conical hat wearing farmers and their families in black pajamas were working the paddies and watching us with wary eyes. We looked at each other in contempt, knowing that they were the ones setting the booby traps, and they incensed we were in their country, uninvited and unwanted. My RTO tapped me on the shoulder, saying the old man, who is the company commander, wants to talk, says he has good news. Retrieving the horn, I heard good news. Our company has been dispatched by brigade to the Highlands, and I've arranged for your platoon to ride APCs, which are armored personnel carriers or tracks. They were little square boxes that could float in the water. Although that was the only time we'd ever seen any tracks, because normally we're in the highlands in the jungle. Anyway, I've arranged for the armor APCs to the chopper pickup point. It should save you at least 2 clicks of walking, and a click was 1,000 meters. And everything over there was metric, so the mountains were 875 feet or meters or 625 meters, whatever. Roger that, I replied. Stay in place. They should be along in a half hour or so. 10-4 was my laconic reply. Ordering the troops into a secure perimeter, we sat, relaxed, and kept a wary eye on the farmers. While waiting, I assigned 4 men to each APC, 1 on each corner, designating the machine gunner to the right front of the second track out of 4. I would ride left front of the first vehicle, my RTO just behind me, and the rest of the platoon their assigned spots. Tracks arrived, men climbed aboard, relieved to be riding in the intense heat, all the while laughing and joking about the ease it would be to get the chopper pickup zone. Prior to leaving, I quickly counted heads to ensure everybody was aboard, as the track commander was getting restless, sitting still in the open. One guy is missing. Where in hell is he? I pointed to the empty spot on track 3. Chatting up the young girl over there on the rice paddy, came a reply. Angry and upset for thwarting my command, I grabbed him by his shirt and shoved him towards the first open seat, mine on the first track. With a boil of black smoke and seasick likeness of rocking to and fro, we took off, the smoke more miserable than the mosquitoes, but we were cooled a little by the rush air drying our sweat-soaked fatigues. 20 minutes after leaving, the first track ventured into an open space and stone wall, and all hell broke loose. We had hit a command detonated 175 artillery round. The enemy had been waiting for us. Rifle rounds commenced hitting our tracks. A huge steel driving wheel was launched 40 feet skyward. Flames roared as the track burned. Melted aluminum flowed, hissing and sizzling as it cooked the leaves and grass from the surrounding countryside. Screams emanated from the interior of the track. The soldiers riding on the outside were gone, and the rest of my platoon took cover behind the stalled APCs and returned fire. The APC continued to burn like a torch. Rounds continued to explode as they cooked off from the intense heat. Controlled bedlam prevailed as I rallied my troops, and soon all was quiet as the enemy withdrew. My RTO was dead. The guy who took my place was missing, and the other 2 riders were severely wounded. Out of nowhere, a chopper appeared, circled slowly, and then landed. One of the machine gunners ran over and asked, "What can we do to help?" "I need a medevac and some sort of radio." Within minutes, the wounded and dead were gone. I had a radio and was talking to the company commander about the ambush and questioning, why not me? July 22, this is my last one. July 22 was a joyous 1988. Whoa, 1988, that should have been 1968. Was a joyous time for the Sharps family back in New Hampshire. Joyous because my sister Kathy was to wed in the old Sammerton Congregational Church, where in the cemetery I could find the burial plots of 4 of my ancestors, all maternal grandfathers. One died in 1676, 100 years before the war, Revolutionary War. We were on patrol in the Central Highlands of Vietnam, just south of An Khê. The highlands were covered with triple canopy, and the verdant growth made the jungle dark and gloomy. The tree's canopy was so thick, rain would continue to fall minutes after a storm passed. Upon approach, a new rainstorm would sound like a monstrous drum roll, announcing that our just dried clothing would again be soaked. As we silently crept our way uphill through the undergrowth, our point man signaled stop. We crouched in acknowledgement because he had seen, smelt, or heard something suspicious. Meanwhile, my family was having fun, and I, as acting platoon leader, thousands of miles away from their jocularity, was feeling the familiar claws and teeth of a terrified rat as it chewed and scratched on my guts. Little did they know something was wrong with their brother and son. Crouching with every other soldier facing in the opposite direction to prepare for battle if needed, we had unknowingly walked into an ambush. Fortunately, the movement of our point man and the crouching soldiers spooked an early ambush, and a machine gun from a bunker started ripping and blasting trees, shrubs, and foliage above our heads. All too soon, the gunner adjusted his fire, and bullets started thudding into trees, logs, and the high ground we were hiding behind. When the first and second soldier was hit, I think I must have lost my mind, for they tell me later that I stood and laughed hysterically, imagining my family having fun, and I in a situation where I might get my butt shot off. While standing, I saw a way to get to the bunker, where well-tossed grenades would silence it forever. My plan worked. Even today, with years of afterthought, I'm not sure why I did what I did, except my fellow soldiers were being hurt. And as platoon leader, it was my responsibility to protect them. Today, I do know we survived the ambush. The machine gun was silenced and his bunker destroyed, and I had sent 2 wounded soldiers home to the world via a medevac dust-off. While watching the chopper fly off with my wounded, I could only stand and wonder, why not me? That's it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Yes.
47 years ago, I came here as principal. That's probably one of the best jobs I ever had. But you're young and you keep thinking, I got to get through the forest. There's a bigger tree on the back side. And of course, I left Allegany, went to Charleston and everywhere, Marshfield, and I don't know how many other schools. Dennis and I ended up working together for 8 years at Sunset. But I always remember Allegany. When I look out, I see one of my former kids. I see one of my former mothers. I see 2 of my parents, as I call them. Anybody that was in school, they're my kids and my parents, even though they're not really mine. But anyway, thanks for listening.
One more thing I'd like you to tell them that it's always stuck in my head is when you were by a path and your hand was out.
Yeah.
One of the people walked over it.
You always went on ambush every night, and you never slept. Vietnam was hell. That's why I said Dennis was a lot smarter than I ever was. And when you're on ambush, you're laying flat, and you usually had a string that went from guy to guy, because if somebody came along, you'd pull the string, and then they would wake the guy next to you, and there was always 1 or 2 people awake. And one night we were out on ambush. There wasn't a real good place to run if something happened. And I'm laying down with my hands like this, my head turned sideways, and somebody stepped on my hand. It was what we called a gook, but it was a Vietnamese soldier. Stepped on my hand. He had stepped off the road, off the side to take a leak or whatever. And we knew, there was only about 10 of us, we knew that group that was coming down the trail was just too big to do anything about. There was another time in a story I wrote called I've written 2 or 3 books on Vietnam. One was called The Green Abyss. 6 of us went down in this huge canyon because it was, as I said, the enemy was down there in the bottom, and they were, and we went down, and you could just feel the hair crawl on your neck, and that rat that I always talk about chewing on my guts. And we were too small. It was an NVA battalion, was incensed down there. We found food, clothing, hanging on the line to dry, smoking fires. We snuck back out, and the next day they sent in a bunch of ROKs, Republic of Korea soldiers, who were tougher than we ever thought we could be. And they were decimated because they were big enough to work with. Anyway, thank you, sir. Yeah. You were damn smart, let me tell you.
No.
Go bury that beer. Oh, I thought I'd taken it home. It's a souvenir of my Allegany days. There you go, man.
Debbie's standing up.
Debbie.
I want to tell you a story about Jim.
Okay.
Charlie was in Vietnam, same as you, 67 through 69.
Who are we talking about?
My husband, Jim.
Yeah.
So he was at the spring training for the Dodgers camp. He got drafted. Just a young guy, 19, 20 years old. And so he went to wherever you go, and all the guys are in this big room, and a Marine, something, whatever, I don't know if he was a sergeant or what he was, but he comes into this room and he says, I want everybody to stand up. All of you stand up. So they all stand up. And he goes, you, 6 guys, he points at. And Jimmy was one of them. And he says, congratulations, you're a Marine.
Whoa.
That's my story.
Just like that.
That was it. Jimmy was no longer in the army. Dennis, don't move anything. I didn't get a picture.
My wife wants a picture of me.
Okay.
I don't know why. We live together.
Straighten up your hair.
Yeah, just pretend like you're talking.
Yeah, we've been married 56 years. Can you believe it? And
Okay.
tomorrow,
You're cut off.
yeah, she controls the money.
I tried.
Married in 69.
Yeah.
I married 72.
90 days after I came home from Vietnam, we got married. And she's put up with a lot of crap.
Carolyn, do you want to?
I had a lot of
I
friends that
just
thought I was
wanted to
crazy
say that
to do that.
my family's provided over 100 years of military service, and every branch of the military, Air Force, Marines, Army, Navy, and in June we're going to have a Coast Guard too.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Craig's most interesting thing was he was on in the battle group that recovered Captain Phillips from the Somalian pirates. The box was pulled in and picked him up, and Craig was, I think he was on the Peleliu at that time, and they were part of that same battle group. And he had interesting stories in the Persian Gulf of them chasing Iranian gunships that were scuttling the oil tankers in the Gulf. Did 7 cat tours.
Well, this has been a great group because I don't know, just all interested in something.
Papa, were you going to do the last song?
Yeah, the only other thing I had to say is how we treat veterans, especially ones like Charlie that have been in the war zone. And we have Mike that's living with us now is a Iraq War veteran. He was riding in his Humvee when they went over one of those roadside bombs, and he got concussion and other injuries from it. One of his buddies in the Humvee didn't make it out. He probably made it out better than most of the other guys that was in his Humvee. So we try to think about how we treat these veterans, and that.
Or I think of families too, like with the Bertrands, you know.
Yeah.
Years ago, they lost their son, and
Yeah.
how that family has suffered.
Yeah, the PTSD is I don't really understand it. Charlie probably does and deals with it, and we have our yeah, and we know Kenny has our son that has serious problems with it. He's gotten better. And Jacob, our grandson, graduated high school early so he could join when he was 17. He went to jumping out of airplanes at 17, and his group jumped out of an airplane. And this was in the Ukraine war, before the current Ukraine war. There's been a few of those Russia-Ukraine wars, and again, we were supporting the Ukrainians. Jacob said the Ukrainians wouldn't fight, so he parachuted in at 17, parachuted in and started fighting the Russians. He has on his arm 23 a day. Some of you know what that means. I'm sure Charlie does.
23 a day?
22.
22 a day. Okay, I'm off one. Okay.
What does that
That's the number of soldier veteran suicides every day.
Oh.
Yeah, that many veteran suicides every day. And he has that tattooed on his arm. So we got to do what we can do for our veterans to show them how much we appreciate that we can sit here today with no danger in sight. No airplane's going to come over here and drop bombs on us because of our veterans. You want to do Amazing Grace, Amy?
Can I add something? I'm just sitting here thinking. One of the stories my dad would tell me, and he didn't have to really tell me, he showed me. We were all families from Vietnam era. So we kind of lived through that war with friends we lost. My dad was in the Air Force, and he was assigned towards the end of the Korean War as an MP in Japan, Tokyo. And he went in and drunk as a skunk and had my name and my mother's name tattooed on his arm.
Okay.
And my mother was so upset. And I asked her why. And she said, because that's not what you do. And my dad said, well, I got your name on my arm, so unless you want to cut my arm off, they're not divorcing.
Okay. Anybody else before we close?
My brothers were Korean War. My oldest brother did Korea 2 times and Vietnam once. But my younger brother was Navy, and he said, and he was on the USS Los Angeles, and he said for some reason they were appeasing some tribal chieftain or something, and they took that U.S. battleship up this river, and he said the brush and everything was scraping on the side of the ship, and they could see the people in the enemy in the trees and stuff. And he said all it would have taken was one person trigger happy, and he said they would have never come out of there. They had to back that ship out of there. He said we're not sure why they ever sent us up there.
Ready, Miss Amy? You ready?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Huh?
I have to come over here because I can't hear myself otherwise.
Okay. Wherever you want to be, girl. Okay.
Dennis, she wants you to play.
You play over there.
Oh, you do? Okay. Okay. Thank you, TJ. Guess that was our dismissal.
Are you for them?
Oh, yeah, we can give,
I'll get you one.
yeah, give him one.